오야 다치로 강가다시 데레 테네 강가 데워드 기보야 보여 이래와 치모요.
First of all, Tashitele to all Dharma friends, I hope that you are well and I hope that you are happy.
다 들인가서 로르 프에 검 지야 검다 오지 테네 반도고 요아레 대대치 시오 침비 카톨 레디 하레스.
So in terms of these lamrim or stages of the path kind of glance meditations, we have arrived at the section of the lamrim known as the Great Scope.
다 텔레테네 다시고 치모사네 와서 도그지레테네 다 간서 니까게 대시 옛날에 다도게 대시 옛날에 텔레 타도 시라니 돈이 버게 도토바이나 니까라요 계속 치모 다되라요 아니 리오프스 봐 유야지 하레스.
So then in terms of the Great Scope, we are continuing with methods to be able to reach both temporary and ultimate happiness. And through the teachings of the Great Scope on both the method side and the wisdom side, then we will be able to achieve happiness, both a temporary and stable, lasting happiness.
다 샤노칼로 보아노 이기고 지네테네 야 슈바니라테네 프린도게 와스테노 지탱아로서 다도 시라니 그 돈에 버게 다 대시프스 바지다 그 하레스.
So just as a bird glides through the sky on the basis of its two wings, then we are able to glide to that temporary and ultimate happiness in a contented way through the practices, the wings of method and wisdom.
다 ngoma 다 퍼서 주바 다 디디스테네 대시에서 와래 다 드리텔 조 시라가 퍼서 주비고 다 디시테 자기스.
So then in the last session, Geshe gave a bit of a presentation of the perfect method side of the path. And so in this session, he will turn his focus to an emphasis on perfect wisdom.
쇼바도 니제 자와 집이 쇼주 세게테네 퍼서지 요비 돈에테네 다 동반이 다야 다로 뭐요 뒤에 돌았더니 가제소노 돈에 제고도 주고 셔나 아니 다 시라 퍼서 주바 뇨래는 도요 아레스.
So on the basis of, in the method side, this bodhicitta rooted in love and compassion that we brought forth, then together with this, we bring forth the meditation on emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness. And we speak about the wisdom of emptiness, going from the coarser types of emptiness to the more subtle. Konda di tompani charak tenso jogere dene.
야소노 제고도 주고 가르쳐가 이나요. 아니 시라 퍼서 주바 뇨래는 도요 아레스.
And then through the practice of both analytical and placement meditation, we can bring forth the perfect practice of wisdom.
데레 다 드리기자 다 그냥 드리지레스 다 드리지자 대시 돼야 될죠. 그게 이지미지 동반이 손었던 제가 제게야 된 거로서 대시라 바제 시게 됐죠. 아니 진짜는 뭐 아니 뒤인지와 다 거인여다 가르 이나요. 그 셰바본다고 됐죠. 대 만즈 말이 봐야 되래 되가레스.
And so the reason that we need to practice wisdom to realize emptiness, if we want to be able to achieve this stable happiness, is because there are obstacles to reaching that stable happiness. These obstacles or blocks to our stable happiness is caused by what are known as the afflictions. And in terms of the main afflictions, in terms of the main doer, we could say that this is the ignorance grasping at a self.
어단 로또 때 제프레 단자 말이 봐야 손스 가르는 야 손스 야 티손도 도야 가르야 봐. 텔레니엠보 때그 동반이 그때 제프레 로또 시소나 인지메지 치바게 되어 말 설이나 옆에도지 아이자 단단히 간소를 그게 배도지 침보지 된대요.
And so, in terms of this ignorance grasping at the self, understanding how this ignorance grasping at the self works, understanding what the antidotes are and how to apply the antidotes to that ignorance, this is something that you don't need to be a Dharma practitioner, a Buddhist to practice. It is something that is going to benefit the greater well being of anyone who contemplates it.
어다 던지지 다 강에 같이 오게 돈에 받기에는 여보대 따로지 서로니로지.
So then Geshe will proceed with the session, and please listen to the important points.
다고 돈에 거 주이스.
So we'll now begin the brief meditation.
가디나요 또 못을 내도 세rum바스 자네더니 달래를 시기 소파치고 빈디스.
So as usual, we bring forth the thought that I'm going to place my body and my mind in a relaxed state.
드닝 알아서 rum바 덤보텔라 Nodra Kanga, Pagesh, and Shapamoda with Danzamariba, Seati, Sonsakanikanin, the Tichitakus.
And so then the first step, what we need to think and to think about how it happens as a first step is to say that the problem maker, what causes all the problems and difficulty, is this affliction, the ignorance, grasping at the self. How does it do that?
Danzamariba, Sonsa, Rabanda, which nearly necessary.
And so to understand this ignorance grasping at the self at a coarser level, to begin with that, we can think of 3 points.
Motomotela Kiwetani, Escaro Inayo, Omoje, Escandichil Tava Inayo, Shewat and Jibala Matipe, Tabax, Sonsiaris.
And so the first of these 3 points regarding the ignorance grasping at the self applied to ourselves or others is this grasping at permanence, thinking that whatever we see, whatever phenomena, it does not depend upon arising and ceasing for its existence. There seems to be this I or this self that is completely unchanging.
So Chil Sonsatia is at Tene, Telatene Soa, Telatene Tene, Noto Caro, Shuaina, Tembochikisoyares.
And because of this fundamental misapprehension, then according with that, all of these feelings arise and seem solid, and according with those feelings that arise, there's all sorts of mental projections or mental noise.
Nipatel Jiva, Chashela, Jane, Matipu, or Jiva, Sachki Sonsachi.
And the next one, we talk about a permanent unitary independent self. The next one is that unitary, misapprehending it as unitary, something that does not depend upon parts coming together for its arising. It does not depend upon parts.
Sumba Telang Tang, Kis on the Chilla, Na, Seade, Jidochi, Kulai Motivitani, Romaji, Sumbasansachi. Yes.
The next misapprehension, we talk about permanent, unitary, and independent. This misapprehension of the I or the self as independent means independent of causes and conditions, not arising due to causes and conditions.
Sonsa Chamo the Maret, Sonsa King Hajar Rabasene, Sonsa Rabatelatinicitus.
So this is not the most subtle presentation of emptiness, but it gives us an idea of the object of negation that we need to bring forth, the object of negation on the coarser level.
Shinjila Matipi Tabatem Kisomano Jimadu, Ma Seade, Kumbo, Nanjawando, Nasa, Anjawando Yoba, Tasiwaji.
We can see that this is in fact incorrect. The self cannot be independent of causes and conditions and so forth because it arises on the basis of the aggregates. And because we can clearly see that those 5 aggregates of form, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are changing, this means the I or the self is changing also.
Yes, Tindija is a Toa Kamikaro Chebainayo, Debotu, and Tabachim, Joando Yushirentus.
Because of understanding this, we can see any difficult feelings or problems that arise. They are not stable and permanent. They are impermanent. They will change. They will dissipate.
영어 기선지 tel라 차실라 뭐디 비지고와 아사티 기소만 오지 지만디스.
Also, this idea that the self is unitary, something not depending on parts and the like, is similarly incorrect.
말로스 자치보 진짜 나나스 대하데 근본 하는 차시 뭐뭐 질 대안에다 봤더니 띠바지래.
We understand that that I or that self that we hold is so important and precious is something that is dependently designated on an assembly of parts coming together.
영어 기선지 지텔라 제도 제 콜라에 뭐디비 tani da sayaji sonsi chindu tani tayong minil mandis.
And similarly, that self, which is misapprehended as independent, not arising from causes and conditions, we see that this is in fact incorrect. There is no self that is arising independently of causes and conditions.
rongi da inare, yanji da inare, kanga lola jidong chi momo chila dibaji rendis.
The I of myself, the I of others, all of these can arise only on the basis of causes and conditions coming together. It is only designated based on that.
Oda tsowa do notu karu hinai kange tekiwe netsi shunga yin, te kan kari hinai jidong chi momo chila tani tene shunga dibaji rendu matuma dibaji rendis.
We understand that any difficult feeling, any mental projection that arises, similarly, this is arising only due to the coming together of causes and conditions. It is something that is merely designated, not independent.
다 딜리 좀 깔래 카고 말이 비선스 tel라. 아니 롱je 스이나요. 롱지 지트발 요아래 손비선스 진데스.
And then there is this aspect of this ignorance, which is a little bit more difficult to understand. And this is the ignorance that is holding the I of oneself or others as something that is inherently or naturally existent.
변항아서 고대고 쉐바 있는 간서 공침보 지라 매도 마보 쪼쪼 지가 차대어나스. 매도 마보 쪼쪼 지를 다른 번에 따와이나.
So if we look at a meadow full of red flowers from a distance,
다른 번에 따위갈 마보 슈 지지바 지 마보 지바임 바치파 노아 시고지 아레스.
from very far away, it seems like a kind of cohesive mass of red, like one large red object when we look from far away.
대다 구사게 다즈 마리바 사티 손선다고 nda고 침보요 아레스.
And this is an illustration that is quite similar to the functioning of this self-grasping ignorance.
바타 니르니르 로아이나 마보테 메도레레 파셴로딜라 당기 마볼 레레치 nda고 손스지 아레 텔라로 아레스.
So as one draws closer to that meadow, one sees that that redness is actually a redness made up of many individual flowers. And the previous apprehension from far away that one had of a large unitary red object, this naturally dissipates.
대노지 양아 야 머테 잘라바이나 코트가 따와이나 아니 파파게 저거 주자 야반다게 노아 첨보 샤용
So, like that, when we think of the self, or perhaps when we think of another person, that person over there, then initially, the initial idea that we have is that there is some sort of pinpointable, unitary person there, that if we were to look for something pinpointable, we could find it. That's the appearance that we have.
어느 못대 단 저거 주자 노아 첨보대 아니 주치 프림보 소유 프림보 당기 메도시아 노지 파치 프림보가 파시에서나 당기 저거 주산데레 사트라
So then that person over there that seems that there's like that pinpointable unitary person over there, if like going closer to that meadow, we realize the individual flowers, when we think a little bit about that person, we realize that actually they are designated on the coming together of the five aggregates, form, feeling, discrimination, and so forth. And when we think in this way, we see there is no pinpointable unitary person at all.
파테 초와까지 내가 이는 아니 되게 손스 담보요 자리더니 여보지 통화에는 오 여보 코레 세는데 저 주체처럼 저 주자되고 라
And so when we are able to think in this way, it can be very useful because if we sort of overestimated the person saying, oh, that is a good person, they are something that is definitely good, giving rise to attachment, that solid pinpointable person, when that dissolves, that can also reduce the attachment.
분로도 코로스 어 먹고 뒤자래 에서 저거 주자 옆에 놓아대요 든지 전에 배치 또 더바이는 걸로
And similarly, if we use the same reasoning of the person that we're angry with, and thinking that there's that pinpointable, horrible person giving rise to our aversion, when we think about that lack of unitariness, this can also help to dissolve the anger.
zonwa to ngenba yoga to diwa kanga lo soso loi pa zowa zo chi yoba zo chi re ma to yukuro ngene chaba tiene chuma de sambachi
Good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, all of these are appearances that we are building onto from our mind. There is no pinpointable goodness or badness and so forth from the side of the object whatsoever.
tiene me ba yore ma de je to che chashi mo che la o tiene ta ba shi shi
And that other person is not independent of causes and conditions. They arise due to causes and conditions. They arise due to the coming together of parts and the like.
oya de bachi
So we'll pause there.
wata tri chine phage chi so chi to to ba yena ane nyamo kanga lo no koro phage so ngine de me ba chi no sha so na ane kari na phage yo da kandis chuma yena yo ko me ba zo ya no sha
So if we are able to think like this, and we are able to come to this understanding that things are not the way that they seem the way that they seem when these afflictions arise, then we can come to a good understanding.
어떤 미안해서 두자 가르치고 있는 요도 도약했더니 소화질에 우려해서
And in any
간극하고
difficult circumstance, we understand that we are definitely able to enact some change with that.
어떤 들이치니 어떤 미네레서 메토니 가와치니 파페제 또 도야지 뭐 제가 놀아 페제 또 도야 뭐 원디 와스
So then, sort of having a liking for this, thinking, oh, really, there is something to this, then try to apply it in your life.
야 뒤에 가면 거랬더니 로저더니 올려 붙이르지
So thank you very much. And then also with this joyful mind, please study and practice well.
야 뒤에
We'll end here.